Our specialist risk professionals possess unmatched expertise to help clients understand and manage risk.
Good day and welcome to the new series on the role of insurance in the economy. My name is Fifi Peters. Now, in the coming months, we will delve into and also dissect different aspects of the insurance sector and the influences external forces have on this industry. In each episode, we will be joined by industry experts who will speak to these issues and table possible solutions. Today, we are looking at employee health and safety in the working environment. It is estimated that around 50% of registered companies in South Africa are not registered or compliant with the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act. What does this mean to these companies and how does it impact their workforce? So we now have in studio Dave Honeyman, who is the business head of Accident and Health and Motor Fleet Solutions at SHA, to help us understand these implications. Dave, thanks so much for your time. I think that is a shockingly low number, the amount of companies that are registered with the Coit Act. Just talk to us as to why you think the number is so low.
Hi, thanks, Fifi. Yeah, I think it's just really a lack of understanding what your responsibilities are as the business owner. And furthermore, a lack of understanding of the individual people out there who are covered by COID. You know, they're not told about it. There's not enough information about it readily available to kind of help you make those decisions that you need to have the right covers in place.
Sure.
So, you know, we talk to a lot of businesses who identify certain problems with trying to register with COID, saying that the process is too long, nobody gets back to them. So you hear all of these excuses, which I think, you know, they will always try and hide from the fact that they haven't put it in place. But there does appear to be some difficulties in getting hold of the commissioner and putting these things in place. But I think it really comes down to a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge of what the rights are.
Sure, I was going to say red tape and sometimes cumbersome processes are not an anomaly in the South African context to some of these businesses perhaps who are experiencing those challenges. But when you say that there's a lack of understanding around the COID Act, are you saying that essentially that not all companies know that they have to be registered?
I think they all just think that they've already got it without registering, almost as if, you know, you've registered your company now, all of a sudden you would automatically have it.
Okay.
But there is obviously a process that you need to go through. You need to register your company and register the employees with that registration with COID to make sure that they are covered.
And legally, what are the implications of these companies that are not registered as yet?
So it's a criminal offence.
Sure.
You know, so the business owner could face a massive fine or even jail time, which has now been promulgated from the commissioner, confirming that this is the case.
Okay.
So, and you know, they are out there sort of auditing companies, making sure the companies are registered. So I think there might be a few business owners getting a few surprises coming forward, because the commissioner has made a concerted effort to try and make sure that they are getting these companies to register with them.
And what are some of the processes or steps to registration right now?
It's really quite simple. You know, you get hold of the Department of Labour, the Workman's Compensation, and you register your company. There's an online portal. And there's also various companies out there that can help you with that registration. So if you are struggling with the commissioner or trying to get through to the commissioner, there are other companies that can assist you with that. And it's not as long a process as what people think it is. I mean, I've heard some companies telling me, oh, I've been trying to get on there for a year. It's highly unlikely. You know, if you have all your documentation, you can get registered within the space of 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And if you go through the right process and if you do it properly and submit the right information.
Okay, so you're also saying that historically, just with your engagements with the companies in the industry, the main pain point that they're experiencing right now to register is the fact that it's a bit cumbersome and it does take time. Is that it, or are there other pain points that are limiting more companies from registering with COID right now?
I think it might be a cost element, you know, because it's not free. You know, you have to register. It should form part of your payroll setup. So there might be an element of, you know, I'm not going to pay that. There might also be past experiences, maybe working at previous companies where there are potential delays when it comes to claims, and people, you know, and it's not everyone that we hear it from, but certainly some companies feel that workman's compensation doesn't react quick enough, that they're having to pay the expenses up front and then they might wait a year to get a recovery from workman's compensation. So that might be a negative mindset that people fall into, but it doesn't negate the fact that they have to do it. You know, so I would imagine that some of these play a role in why there are delays, but really, you know, we have to do the right thing for the employees, and you have to do the right thing for your business by complying with legislation. And the process is not as difficult as what people make it out to be.
Okay. Are there business implications also whereby perhaps you might be prevented from doing business with certain parties, perhaps even the state, if your business is not COID compliant?
Absolutely. So you have to have a letter of good standing to enter any tender process, and a lot of companies are now just asking for those documents and compliance certificates before they will do business with you.
Okay. So besides the fact that it's law and legally you have to do this, what are some of the benefits for companies in embarking on this route?
Sure. So, you know, I mean, we work in a very, you know, productive kind of environment in South Africa, and a lot of manual labor work within our workforces. Now, I mean, should your employee get injured, workman's compensation or the Commissioner of Occupational Injuries and Diseases would make sure that all their medical expenses, any lost time or loss of earnings, income protection, if there's a permanent disability, they would compensate the individual. Or even in the worst case, if there's a death of one of the employees, that family will be looked after in terms of a pension. So there are massive benefits for the employee, but more importantly also to their family. And then also, you know, if you are injured at work, you can't go and sue your employer for any wrongdoing. Okay, you will put your claim in against COID. So it protects the company from potentially being sued by the employee for an injury that would have happened at work. So it has benefits to both, you know, the employer and the employee.
And so right now, if you happen to be in a position whereby you have an employee, you know, not saying that this should happen, God forbid, but you have an employee that does get injured at your workplace and you're not quite compliant, who then needs to foot that bill?
So the employer will always still have a workman's compensation claim.
Okay.
You know, it would then just be a case of sort of upfront, I would assume that the company is going to have to pay it. But you know, the compensation commissioner will get hold of that company, and they will then deal with the company. But the employee will be protected in terms of the income and in terms of the medical expenses. That the commissioner won't negate their responsibility from doing that, but the repercussions for the company might be painful.
Sure.
And for the business owner, because that is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And it is something that we have seen, and it kind of frustrates me a lot, is, you know, you get these companies that would say, my employee got injured, and they go to the employee and say, well, here's 500 Rand, go to the doctor, go and get some treatment. And that sounds fine and it sounds fair. You know, said employee goes to doctor, gets treated. But like a year later, they start feeling, you know, a bit of numbness in their hand. And then they find out down the line they've actually got diabetes. And this whole thing has now got so bad that the hand might need to be amputated or something along those lines. So no COID claim has been put in place because the employer thinks the employee has now been dealt with this 500 Rand sort of treatment that they received at the time. It's just, you know, rather follow the process. Submit the claims to COID. Let COID and their medical doctors and advisors look at the employee and make sure that the best interests of the employee and your company are being taken care of.
Okay. How is your business, how is SHA specifically trying to simplify the process for your clients, especially those who have experienced headaches in trying to register?
So that was the conundrum we had, was, you know, we provide benefits for employees who get injured, whether it be at work or outside of work. And when they were getting injured at work, they were claiming against us. And we would say, well, you know, you first got a claim from workman's compensation, COID, and then if there's any shortfalls, you can claim that via us. And of course, this created a lot of anxiety, and I thought clients were thinking, well, you're not doing your job. You're not giving us the value for money that we've sort of charged, and it sounds like that, but you know, it's law. We can't allow clients to continue disobeying the law and not adhering to what they need to do. So we said, well, you know, we understand that there is this misunderstanding of COID and the problems with registering. So we've got partners now that we now assist the clients. So if you are a policyholder of SHA, we'll actually hold your hand through the entire process. So we'll go and double check that your registration is 100% complete, that you're up to date, and that you are registered correctly. But it's really to try and give our clients a sense of this does work. And also to create awareness, you know. So through our partners, the company can kind of say to us, look, my health and safety officers have no idea what to do if there's an injury on duty. And you'll be amazed at how few companies have a risk mitigation kind of process in place, or have even thought about, you know, what happens if somebody cuts their hand off here? Like, where are we going to go?
That's worrying.
But it is, right? And it's such a basic thing, but it's just, you know, it's just not what you think about every day. Okay. So we will provide the training to the health and safety people, and then I still think it's quite critical that this should be explained to employees. Employees should understand what they have, what they're entitled to, what the rights are, and what happens if, you know, they might be buying their own personal insurance policies to cover something that might already be covered from workman's compensation or through something else. So I just, as people, I think we need to know what we're entitled to and what we have, and a lot of more companies are open to that, and it's quite exciting. It's exciting to see, and they're really taking a lot of value from some of the sessions that that we're dealing with them on. So it is very encouraging to see that.
And I imagine that it also has a positive impact on company culture, because if you know that you are protected and you're safe, and even as an employee, if you know that you can sleep peacefully at night should anything happen, it should have a spin-off effect on positive culture.
I would absolutely imagine that, you know, a sense of belonging and a sense of being looked after.
Sure. Dave, thanks so much for joining us in studio and giving us this insight on this very important topic on the COID Act. And as you heard, it is really legal, essentially, and all companies need to be registered, and it is not as difficult and as cumbersome as many believe. But that is where we have to leave the conversation for now. And thanks once again to my guest, Dave Honeyman. He's the business head of Accident and Health and Motor Fleet Solutions at SHA. Until next time, it is goodbye from me.